Let's go.
Good. I'm turning my phones off so we don't interrupt anybody here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay.
Phil, what did NC State and Georgia Tech do differently that you guys had not seen before this year or prior?
Really, the two approaches were very different. I don't think they were very similar with regards to like NC State. I mean, they dropped 8 a lot, and then when they didn't do that, they pressured. So it was really you were getting two things at NC State, which I don't think we didn't expect. I mean, it's what they have done. Thought we would get a steadier diet of drop 8 because of how effectively we throw the football and how Drake is. So the game for us really came down to just we needed to be more patient at all our positions with what we do when they drop 8. Because when you drop 8, it's harder to get the ball down the field, which we like to do. I really likened it to the Boston College game that we had early on in the season in 2020, where Boston College at that point really ran their defense the way they ran their defense, but they played everything a little bit softer, and they kept everything in front of them. And we had come off a year where it's bombs away every year, I guess, but we had come off a year where we were really, really successful throwing the ball down the field. And we start the season early on in this COVID deal, and it was evident that they were going to keep everything in front of them and not give up the big explosive plays. And that's really what NC State did. We had 89 plays for lesser yards, and you knew that was going to happen because of how they play. So our scoring drives were 14, 15, 12. They were drives where we had to manufacture a number of plays, different ways to get the ball out or to run the football or to do some things with Drake, and they make you earn it. It's a smart way to play us at times. You had a mix of making us earn it and then pressuring Drake and trying to force him to get the ball out quick. And there were some drives, our successful drives. I thought we did a great job of being patient. And on the drives where we didn't, I thought we weren't patient. We forced the ball, or we didn't adjust our route the way we needed to, or we didn't hit the run where we needed to. We're a little inconsistent, and you need to be consistent and you need to be efficient against these teams. Patience, I probably circled that word every day game planning last week. You just saw it over and over and over, and it just needed to be something that we were going to do on a regular basis for 4 quarters. And that was kind of up and down. And in a nutshell, that was really what made us inconsistent. On Friday night was not just being patient and taking what they give us. You look at the drives where we put 10 plus plays together and had a nice drive, got down in the red zone, were able to score. That's the way you wanted to play the whole game. And we just need to do that more. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get some of that from Clemson. I wouldn't be surprised if we see that more in the future, because it's a way to maybe minimize explosive plays. And I think, I've been through countless games where we've seen that, and being patient and really just taking the less exciting, less exotic aspect of the play is what you need to do. There was a really good example. We were in trips to the left later on in the game, and Josh Downs is wide open on a deep ball, but the deep route that he ran broke open later. And there was a really quick hitch to J.J. Jones underneath, and Drake ripped it out there, and we caught it for 5, and I think we completed it. He got tackled at 13. And that's a great example. That play, in a nutshell, is what this game is about. Don't hold it. And I'm not saying this is about Drake. I'm talking about all aspects of the offense. But get it out to what they give you right away, and take what they give you and be patient with it, be happy with it, because 2nd and 5 is a good place to live offense. And that's really ultimately what the game was all about for us on Friday on offense.
when Drake was asked about what went wrong, first thing he said after the game Friday was they were dropping 8. So you're talking about patience. Is it patience with Drake or patience with the other guys as well?
Oh, no, the running backs out of the backfield and, not hesitating with regards to hit and run holes, and for the most part, I thought when we did a good, it's going to sound funny, but when we did a good job blocking, because they're an exceptional run defense, when we did a good job blocking up front, we actually made more money in our run plays than we thought we might. You think if you block it for 3 or 4, you're going to get 5 or 6. And we got our 8s and our 10s and our 12s. We got those things. We did a good job when we blocked it well. And then we had a number of plays where we missed the back block or we missed the team or we weren't quite as physical as we needed to be. And that's where you got your 1s and your negative 1s and your 0s. And so, again, that's part of being a little bit more patient, being consistent. And then you have your swing throws out of the backfield. We take those receivers, settling things down sooner. You know what I mean? Instead of trying to run the bigger route or the deeper route or the route that's going to give them more yards. And that applies to the tight ends as well. It's just a team-wide understanding that this is what they do on defense, and this is what they're trying to minimize, and here's how we beat it. And there were drives on Friday night where we did a good job of that, and those are the drives we scored. And we learned at the end, in the fourth quarter, where it was probably the most urgent. It's funny that in the quarter where there was probably the most urgency, like either we're going to go win this thing right now in the fourth quarter or we're not, we became the most patient. And that's when we put together the most successive positive plays. And it's why we're able to score at the end and get ourselves back into the ball game and send the thing to overtime.
Is there a chess match in trying to get them to not drop 8 so much, and is part of that running the ball more effectively on the RPOs?
I suppose so. I mean, you'd have to ask Gibby. He's just, they mixed it up. They dropped 8 and they brought pressure, and I'm sure they tried to do that with regards to what our tendencies were. We had an expectation that there was going to be drop 8 on certain down and distance situations, and we had an expectation as to when we thought they might pressure. But they've done a good job all year. That's why they're good on defense. They've done a good job all year of kind of mixing that up a little bit. And so, there's tips and keys that you look for. At the end of the day, I mean, they did a good enough job to win the ball game. We I think, learned that against teams that do that, there's a way to win the ball game, and there's a way to be successful. And we've done it in the past. We just haven't seen it as regularly as we saw it on Friday. And I think it'll help us take a step with regards to addressing, that approach when we play somebody defensively that way.
Drake's been so accurate all year. There were a couple throws in the corner of the end zone, notably, that were just off, like maybe a foot, maybe a couple inches here or there. He mentioned, that's a tough throw for him, kind of moving left a little bit and having to make that throw. But is there anything you saw in his mechanics or anything that would indicate why just a hair off on a couple of those throws?
No, when they drop 8, the safety structure is wider, and so when you're throwing stuff outside, we had 3 great catches on the sideline. All 3 of them were out of bounds. And then that's the game of inches that you talk about. And we just missed Josh in the end zone there on the sideline. I think we had a couple of deep balls that we caught, did a good job with, and we just out of bounds. The one of them we bobbled. I mean, we had our share of drops on Friday, but and then the kids are going to roll their eyes when I say this, but the better teams, those little things show up. Those little things make a difference. The inches are more noticeable, and they show up. And that's why in practice you work hard to try to be precise. And you try to really, Coach Brown always talks about the same thing that Gene and I do, and that's playing to our standard of where we want to be able to, we want to practice at this level and play at this level. And regardless of who the opponent is, you want to be 8 weeks better after 8 weeks and so on. And because what happens is the overall product, those little things get sharper and sharper and better. And against the better defense, those little things show up. They're either going to go your way or they're not. And Friday night they didn't. And I think that, along with just understanding how patient we have to be against this kind of defenses, that's to me the difference in Friday night, without question.
there's been a year-long rivalry between NC State and Clemson about their defense. Which defense is better? You're going to get a chance to see one back-to-back.
I would say that this Clemson front seven is elite. And I would say that you're going to see most of those guys playing at the next level. The front four are really, really impressive, and they're really impressive. And the linebacking core, it's hard to say they're the strength because the D-line is good, but that front seven is, right now, in my opinion, that's the strength of their football team. That's no disrespect to their secondary, I think in a game like this, the thing that comes to my mind and what I've said to our offensive players is we're coastal champs. Nobody handed this to us. We were good enough to earn this, and we're in the ACC championship because we deserve to be there. And now that you're there, this is why you play the game. So why not let it all hang loose and go attack this thing and get after it? And so that's the mentality right now. Like we have earned this thing, and so let's go enjoy it. Let's practice hard and let's attack it on Saturday. And I think that's kind of where we are right now in this program.
Bill, you guys gave up 6 sacks against Georgia Tech, only 2 last week. But in the 2 losses, what did you think of pass protection and how you guys performed, especially considering the defensive front you're about to play?
I was very happy with the pass protection Friday night. I mean, we threw the ball 49 times. We gave up 2 sacks. There were very few rushes and hurries, and Drake got hit very little. And some of that, they're helping you with the drop 8. But on the flip side of it, the other half of the game, they were pressuring the heck out of us and bringing a lot of people, and so we had to handle that. So from a protection standpoint, we are just so much better than we've been in the past in terms of keeping the middle of the pocket firm and creating more width. A lot of these scramble yards and run yards and draw yardage that we have with Drake is a product of having a firmer pocket there. And I think, I don't know that we throw the ball with the success we have if we're not protecting the way we're protecting. You always want it to be better. We have our individual one-on-one matchups that we're constantly trying to get better from a technique standpoint. And, when they have good one-on-one matchups, you want to find a way to get those guys help, and so you protect it some different ways, or you help them with a back or a tight end. But overall, I think that's been the most improved area of this team this year. I would like to be more physical in the run game. I know Coach Bicknell would like to be more physical in the run game at times. And I do like the development of Elijah Green. I like what he brings to our offense from a speed standpoint. And there is some intention of adding and utilizing some of the other backs. It's just when Elijah's on a roll, we let him roll unless he's tired. And I think, you may see a little bit more of what we're hearing on Saturday against Clemson.
How much is having a back like Elijah who gets through the hole so quickly kind of help the offensive line look a little bit better with the run blocking? Because with a guy that gets through so quickly, you don't need to hold it as long. Maybe you don't need to have as big a hole. So how does Elijah help the O-line with that?
It's the speed. I mean, Elijah's deal. One, he's very decisive. Okay, he does not spend a lot of time in the offensive back. 2, he's getting better and better, and it's what you see when you utilize a running back more and more. As the more Michael Carter and Javonte touched the football, the better they got dealing with an initial engager. And now you're starting to see that with Elijah because of the amount of times that he carries the football in a game. So he's getting better and better at dealing with, the first engager in a run play, whether that's behind the line of scrimmage. They engaged him at 2 yards on a counter play that we missed a back block on. He bounced it outside and turned it into a 1-yard gain. And that was all about his ability. But the decisiveness is what I like the most in terms of he doesn't need a very big hole. That crease just has to open for a little bit, and he hits it, and he has the speed to hit it. He does a really good job when, first impact, he does a really good job there. Rarely is he tackled by the first engager, and I think, of course, anytime he's able to break the line of scrimmage and he's not greeted at 4 or 5, he's always a threat to go because he has elite speed. So You know, your downhills, the fastest way to beat the line of scrimmage is to be north-south. You have the speed to do it, and you have the speed to take it the distance when, you know, they misfit a gap or we get somebody blocked at the second level. I don't know, that's not what we're looking for every time we recruit a running back. You know, you want a guy that's downhill, that's physical, and has tremendous speed, and he has all three of those. And, you know, his weakness was pass protection and catching the ball. It was the passing aspect of his play, and now he's a very good pass protector. And knock on wood, but I don't think he's dropped a pass in the game this year. If he has, I don't remember.
So his decisiveness makes the guy who's already quick and fast a little bit quicker and a little bit faster.
No, there's no question. I mean, it's because you can have the speed, and the more time we spend on the offensive side of the box, the more things break down. Particularly against better defenses like Clemson, Pittsburgh, and NC State, where they're really, really physical. Even Georgia Tech had some really good individual athletes, and they played well, and they were physical in the box. And those teams, you've got to be very, very quick about what you do. You need to be physical. The hole or the gap isn't going to open for very long. And so obviously the more decisive you're back, and Omari does a good job. He doesn't waste a lot of time in the backfield. That's why we like him. So Caleb was the same way. You know, those guys wanted to beat the line of scrimmage, and that's what you want. That minimizes TFLs, and it gives you an opportunity, you know, to do something against somebody that's greeting you at 4 yards at the second level. I always say, if we've got to coach running backs on that side of the line of scrimmage, then we have the wrong people. Right? We're recruiting them to do what they do. It's our job to do a good job up front and schematically to beat the line of scrimmage and then let a running back go be who he is.
You guys good?
I got one more. Phil, Drake design runs against NC State, really not a ton of success there. When he was able to sort of wing it a little bit, he had some success. Were the design runs something y'all saw that maybe he could have some success against NC State's front?
So we have some design runs. We also have, you know, as I've said before, we have some pass plays that we know there's just a natural, automatic opportunity to scramble. And we talk about those when you install the pass play, you know, and so, like I've said, you know, when you run mesh, there's a lot of people in the middle of the field. There's not natural screen lanes or scramble lanes for a quarterback there because you're really inviting the population over the middle of the field. There's others where you're spraying some people and, you know, guys are getting out. And I think it's very advantageous to teach your guys when they really have a legitimate scramble on a play or not. And that way we're not holding the ball in the pocket, endangering him. They did do a good job of squeezing some of those holes, and I thought, you know, in drop 8, we felt like, hey, you know what, we're gonna be able to take off, slide for 5 and get up and, you know, and have to go execute on 2nd down and 5. I don't know that we expected our draws to be, or the quarterback runs to be as explosive in Friday night's game as they have, you know, in some other games where, you know, defenses are applying something differently. Good?
Thanks, Phil.
Thanks, Phil.
All right, see you, Sarge.